This is the Crowd Crux Crowdfunding Podcast with Sal Briggman, where we cover everything you need to know to launch a successful crowdfunding campaign. We speak with proven entrepreneurs who've raised money from the crowd and want to teach you how to do the same. Stay tuned because we're about to reveal how to launch your dream project with your host, Sal Briggman.
Before we get started with this podcast episode, I want to take a second to introduce you to my friends at Fulfillrite. If you need help shipping out your Kickstarter or Indiegogo perks or rewards, Fulfillrite is the absolute best company for you. I've been working with them for a while and I can vouch for their services. They make it dead simple and take all of the headache out of shipping out all of those boxes, all of those orders to your backers and your customers. If you want to check them out, go to fulfillrite.com at fulfillrite.com. What up, crowdfunders? Salvador Briggman here. Welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's show. I have a lot of great content for you today. We're going to be talking about Kiva. So Kiva is a different platform than anything else out there. You can use it to get a 0% interest loan for your business, and it's what's referred to as either microfinancing or debt crowdfunding. So I brought on a representative from Kiva. We were on the same panel together. I was moderating the panel on crowdfunding in New York City, and Zoe was one of the representatives from Kiva. So I'm like, wow, this is great. We have the access to her. She has a lot of great experience here in terms of microfinance. You know, she's really plugged into the Kiva marketplace. Why can't we bring her on and then talk about, okay, so number one, what are some of the different components of a Kiva campaign? What do you have to do? And most importantly, who is this for? Because Kickstarter and Indiegogo is not for everyone. The same thing with Kiva and some of these other websites. So I think you're gonna get a lot of value today out of the episode. And also, if you haven't yet, go and check out some of the other ones on this show. So I have other podcasts where I've interviewed successful entrepreneurs, people who have successfully raised money. They convey the effective strategies they used. We dig deep. We get into what actually drove traffic and actually pledges to their project. So this is just a gold mine of information if you're looking to launch one of these crowdfunding campaigns. Now, this has been a passion for me for the last several years. You know, since 2012, I've been passionate about crowdfunding. One of the things I've been doing recently is I've been starting to vlog my life. Vlog, that's not a speech impediment. That stands for vlog, video log. So basically, I'm putting out videos on my side YouTube channel where I catalog some of the stuff that's happening in my life. I also get into some of the other tips and advice in terms of online business, things like blogging, things like podcasting, a lot of the stuff that doesn't fall into the realm of crowdfunding, also personal development, lifestyle stuff, spiritual stuff, we talk about on my side YouTube channel called Life of Freedom. So on the Life of Freedom channel, we discuss that. I also give you a glimpse of my personal life. People have said it's really interesting to sort of see the behind the scenes Sal. If you've been listening to me, you might know me from my YouTube channel, Crowdfunding Demystified, or this podcast, or my blog, wherever you know me from. I always think it's interesting to sort of see the behind the scenes that goes into that. So I'll take you through some of my experiences in New York City. For example, flying in a helicopter all over Manhattan, which was really neat. Flying a plane, going to different festivals, just lots of interesting stuff. So if you're at all interested and you want a glimpse of my personal life, you can go and check me out called Life of Freedom on YouTube. I'll also be sure to link that up in the show notes. But without further ado, let's get into today's podcast episode where we talked with Zoe, one of the representatives from Kiva. Zoe, thank you so much for coming on the show. Looking forward to talking with you about Kiva, the ways that people can use that to raise money, to get funding for their business. I have a lot of questions for you. Loved having you also on the panel. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Sal. It's so exciting to be here, and I'm really excited to chat some more about Kiva.
Totally. I also think that was a really good panel that we were on. Like, there's a lot of good information, a lot of interesting different types of businesses. I also got to know you a little bit. Like, I like that panel a lot.
Yeah, me too. And the crowd was really interactive, which is always great. Kind of throw questions at you that get you thinking, help push the discussion. So yeah, it was great to be on it.
Totally. I actually wish I got to know like a little bit more about you though, because, Kiva, we've all seen the rise of Kiva, how popular it is. But when it comes to you and your story, why it is that you joined Kiva, when you did, what you do, I'd love it if you could just fill in some of the gaps here and give us a sense of, okay, so what is your role at Kiva? Why did you join also?
Yeah, for sure. I'm still relatively new to the world of microfinance. So I first kind of got involved with this industry on a recent trip to Vietnam. I was actually in a rural community and got to see the impact of a local microfinance institution on a broom making business. So a small community business that had benefited from a microfinance loan. So that's really what clicked with me and got me interested in microfinance. And then I just got researching, came across Kiva, and yeah, it's something that just really clicked with me. Their model is so innovative to the crowdfunding world, and yeah, it's just a really sustainable and dignified way to contribute to people in your community around the world. So yeah, as soon as I read up about Kiva, I applied. I knew I wanted to get involved and was really lucky to get the position
Totally.
Here in our New York office. So yeah, our head office is over in San Francisco, but here in New York we're a lead market. So what that means is that I'm working in growth and support for our New York borrowers. Mm-hmm. So I work really closely with the borrowers throughout their entire kind of Kiva process. We usually get in touch a few days after they've started a submission, help them through the application, and yeah, just there for kind of a one-on-one support system.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then as you mentioned, we do panels and workshops just to really spread the word about Kiva as a funding option for small businesses.
Totally. I want to get into also some of the tips and advice you have for people out there looking to launch a campaign on Kiva. But before we do, I did have to ask you, so when you were, take the time back a little bit, when you were in Vietnam, you were watching the way that microfinance changed this business. What did that feel like? Like, why is it you connected with that so much?
I feel like it was just such, especially, in a developing country like Vietnam, such a small contribution and that kind of influx of funds into a small business. They went from kind of just producing brooms and selling them to other local villages to the extent that after, I think it was only $100 microfinance loan, they actually started exporting to China.
Wow.
And so, yeah, just speaking with the men and women who work together in that small business, hearing how it had affected obviously their household income, but also just their day-to-day life, being able to kind of have more time with their children instead of working out in the fields. It was just kind of a light bulb moment, I think. I hadn't really heard much about the microfinance industry, and I just really saw it as kind of the way of future, kind of not charity, but just changing that mind frame from, just helping, giving one-off donations to having this dignified way to have an interaction with someone starting a business.
Yeah. I mean, I also think that it changes that person's life, but it also changes their kids' lives because they also see that and the role of business. And then it changes the community because with more influx of funds, they can build business more, they can service more people, and it really builds up communities in that sense.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Even just from what we saw, they'd employed so many more people in that small time frame, and also just having the incentive to repay that and go for a loan the next year and the next year and building on those funds. So yeah, I would love to get back there and see down the line what they've done with those funds. So yeah, it was great.
Now, historically, when I think of Kiva, I do think of microfinance, particularly in developing countries. Small business owners that need a loan to expand their shop or to expand their offering or to grow or even to start their business, and particularly minority small business owners in developing countries. But now it seems like Kiva is also open to other areas. So like in the United States. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Kiva was founded in 2005 with a focus on those international contexts, so developing countries. But later on, I think it was about 2010, Kiva realised that there was definitely a market for, a lending crowdfunded platform here in the US as well. And really kind of why that came up is looking at the statistics, inequality is actually getting worse in the US. And as a result of that, entrepreneurship has been in decline, particularly after the 2008 crash. There's definitely been a pattern of more small businesses exiting the market than entering. And at Kiva, we really think that the reason for that is because it's just getting increasingly hard to access capital for small and micro businesses. So, the big businesses getting the traditional loans just continue to climb. But the access to that small scale capital is actually going down. So definitely the market for the same platform here. And it's been, really successful in New York City alone. We've funded over 500 borrowers since 2015 when our New York office opened.
Wow.
So, it's been really successful here as well, which is really exciting. And kind of through spreading the word, we're just getting more and more people through.
Totally.
So it's been really great.
I would also say, that's a major pain point for any small business owner where you're trying to get the funds necessary to buy inventory or to supplement your costs, setting up a service-based business or something small. And it's like, well, what do I have access to? I have credit cards, but the rates that are charged on credit cards are astronomical. And then you have maybe some other options like, I guess I could get a bank loan, but you need collateral or you need some good financial history. So I think there's really this dearth, like there needs to be another option. And it seems like that's what Kiva is filling. So I'd love to ask you here, what is different about Kiva than some of these other options like credit cards, like a bank loan? How are you guys different here?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is the fact that we are a not-for-profit. So we've got the social mission to create more inclusive access to finance. So we are a crowdfunding platform giving 0% interest and no fee loans. But what's really unique about our crowdfunding platform is that it is a lending scheme. So it's different, what most people are used to when they hear crowdfunding with the one-off donations. So for us, all our lenders contribute to a campaign, and then across a period of repayment, they all get their money back. So I think that's one of the main differences, is that it is a lending scheme compared to other crowdfunding platforms, and also compared to traditional lenders, it is 0% and no fees.
Wait, 0% interest? Like, so I don't have to pay anything aside from the principal back to the borrowers?
Exactly, and that goes from both ends. So the lenders don't pay any interest on what they contribute, and the borrowers don't pay any interest in when they're repaying. So if you're approved for, say, a $10,000 loan, that's the amount you receive, that's the amount you pay back. And we're also really fortunate to have a great partnership with PayPal. And so all these transfers go through a PayPal system, and we also have 0% fees through that PayPal. So, it really is.
That's incredible. Jeez.
Really is no fees, yes.
So let me ask you this, because that really begs the question, like, okay, if you guys are not charging fees, there are no PayPal fees, no repayment fee, aside from the principal, how are you supplementing the cost? Like, how are you guys staying as a nonprofit? How are you able to support your site and everything?
Yeah, this is actually one of my favorite questions to answer because, from people like yourself and workshops and also our borrowers, it's always kind of their question of, well, what's the catch? Like, how does this work?
Got to be some catch here. Got to be some catch.
Yeah. So the answer is no, there is not a catch. So being a not-for-profit, we don't kind of make any money off people borrowing through us. Obviously, we do have operating expenses that we need to cover. So 2/3 of those operating expenses come through donations. So when people use the Kiva platform, they're lending to different campaigns. They also have the option to kind of tick a box to give a one-off donation to Kiva. So
okay.
two-thirds of our operating expenses come from people doing that. So we're really, really fortunate to have such a great community of lenders who also want to help Kiva operate. And then the other third, come from sponsors and partnerships that have been built up over the years that give towards our operating expenses. So none of it comes from the borrowers themselves.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. I think that's also like it's like a closed ecosystem almost, where people are not only supporting Kiva, they're also supporting entrepreneurs. They're getting the funding back after you fund a loan, and then it's repaid. You can go and support other people. So it's kind of like this entire ecosystem, which is really neat.
Yeah, it's really cool. And as you said, when people that have lent do get their money back, they can just put that straight into somebody else's campaign, or they can, cash it out and, keep it back in their bank account to use later or not use again. It's just, it's a really flexible platform. And I think once you hear about Kiva and learn what it's all about, it's hard not to want to be involved. So
totally.
It's a great community.
Yeah. I had to interrupt this podcast episode because I want to introduce you to my friends at The Gadget Flow. Their product discovery platform reaches 22 million people per month. They've helped more than 5,000 crowdfunding campaigns thus far, and they have a social media following of more than 700,000 followers. If you want to gain access to their marketplace and list your own product, you can go to thegadgetflow.com/submit and list your project today. For those entrepreneurs in the audience that are interested in Kiva, in terms of the actual scope of a loan, how much can you get in terms of a loan on Kiva? What is the duration like, the repayment? Can you go into the nitty-gritty a little bit there?
Yeah, definitely. So we do microloans, so a minimum of $1,000 up to $10,000. And for the repayments, we have a fixed monthly repayment, and the terms are up to 36 months. So generally, depending on kind of the loan amount that you're approved for, it will kind of adjust the amount of months that you have for your repayment. So, often the $10,000 loans will have the maximum repayment period of 36 months. But yeah, that's all determined in your review process to match up kind of your loan amount to a repayment schedule that's going to work for the borrower.
Yeah. And is this available for every type of business out there? Are there certain ones that are not included? Can you shed some light on that?
So our social mission is to be inclusive. So we help businesses at any business stage, pre-startup to startup, through to well-established businesses who might want to revamp in their marketing or something like that. So any business stage. As you can see, if you visit the Kiva website, there's such a diverse range of businesses that we're helping here in the US. So, the food industry, retail, tech, so much out there. We don't have kind of any specific requirements of the business type, just provided that it is a legally operating business.
Do you notice
keep
going.
And just also to mention that also different loan purposes we welcome. So whether you're wanting to kind of create a website, boost your marketing, or buy inventory, it really is up to the owner, the business owner, as long as that loan is being used for business purposes, not personal purposes, then it really is flexible and up to the borrower what they want to use the loan for.
Okay, yeah, you just answered my next question.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, good job. You're ahead of the game here. Because I do think, yeah, depending on what type of business, some might use it for their website or for marketing. Others are going to use it for retail. Others might use for certification or something other expense related to the business. So that's really good to know. I think that's a major early stage, particularly when you're just trying to get started. It is so hard to get access to capital that I think that really solves a major pain point there. Is this available to everyone? Like, is this available throughout the entire United States? We also have people internationally. Like, is this available in the UK, or is it sort of limited to cities? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so at the moment, as I said, we're internationally based at the start. We operate across 90 countries. And yes, in the US, across all states. Head office is in San Francisco, and then we are fortunate to have lead markets such as the one in New York, where we do have that really one-on-one relationship with our borrowers, helping them through. Other states can access Kiva. They might not have as much of a one-on-one relationship throughout, but yeah, we definitely try to reach out and support everybody going through the process.
Awesome.
But yeah, not in the UK or Australia yet. But I mean, that's always opportunity for growth. And once we kind of have our US based system, which is still quite new, kind of working to the stage we want it to be, then hopefully we'll be able to open up those other markets.
Awesome. Well, I want to ask you a few questions about the launch process behind a Kiva campaign, because I know that's a little bit different than you might think of with a traditional loan. But before we get into that, I want to ask you a question. So you having joined Kiva, you've seen, I imagine, a bunch of different projects. Could you share with us one that either tugs at your heartstrings and you really liked, or one that you were just blown away by, or a story at least of a project creator who raised money with Kiva effectively?
Yeah, I'm actually working with a borrower at the moment. He's in his fundraising process, but this is actually his second loan with Kiva. And just kind of seeing the transition from what he did with his first loan to where his business is at now is really incredible. So I'd love to share his story with you. So he's in the salsa making business. He has his own company. With their first Kiva loan, they were, I think, under 6 months operating, so a startup. And they were using their Kiva loan just, for basic inventory, kind of buying the jars and everything for their salsa. And so their first loan really helped to boost that. That was back, I think, in 2014, and now he's going for his second Kiva loan, and they are currently stocking in huge supermarkets like Whole Foods, Safeway, Lowe's Foods, and he has his product in 42 states.
Wow.
So, and that's like across about a 4-year time frame. So I really love working with him. His family background is Mexican. So he grew up, having great salsa. He was, lived in the United States, lived overseas, and kind of realized that there was a gap in the market for that traditional, authentic, great salsa. So he kind of just went with a really small, simple idea, kind of homegrown recipes, and yeah, now he's operating across 42 states, and he's hoping with this current loan to really do a boost in marketing and his website to hopefully move into overseas markets.
That's incredible.
So yeah, it's a really cool story. So I'm really excited for him, and he shouldn't be too far away from fully funding his second loan.
That's also awesome because maybe you get some free salsa on the side there.
Well, I should look into this actually.
Yeah. I would totally get that. I totally want that.
Yeah, the perks. This is the perks.
Yeah, the perks. That's really cool. I think it also just underscores how it's a stage in your company, almost like it's a stage in the story that the funding is actually what it enables you to do, which is get your product out there into the hands of more people and to really change more people's lives, whether that is with salsa, a condiment like that, or something different like a physical product. So I think it's a really important stage,
For sure. And I will just add in there that, throughout the process, obviously access to capital, that's, the main goal of Kiva. But how the platform works, it actually is almost like a free marketing platform as well. So you put your profile up, with your business description, your personal story, and everybody that's going through the Kiva website, we've got 1.6 million lenders around the world. They're all seeing your business. They could become potential customers as well as lenders. Yeah. So that's really cool. And then as well as when you are repaying your loan month to month, as I said, it was fixed monthly payments, we actually report your business credit. So even if you're a startup, it's often hard to access traditional lending platforms because of not having business credit. So through Kiva, you're also building that, which is a really great opportunity.
So this is actually a way where after Kiva, it'll make it easier for you to get other loans or to have your business at least be more creditworthy in other people's eyes. That's really neat.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
Stepping stone to other loans. So
yeah, just the beginning of the process. I'm speaking to the crowdfunders in the audience who have already launched a Kickstarter campaign or have actually even successfully run a campaign. And the reason is, I think you will understand this pain point most. And that is, when you finally do raise money on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, the hardest part is not collecting the cash. The hardest part is shipping out all of those perks and rewards to your backers. It is a nightmare, my friends. It's a lot of spreadsheets, it's a lot of headache, and it's a lot of stress. That's why I recommend BackerKit. If you have not heard of BackerKit, they help you collect surveys, they help you collect data, and the entire fulfillment process is just so much easier and so many less spreadsheets when you use their software. You can check them out at backerkit.com and use CrowdCrux for a special discount. I really want to ask you here, though, about the launch process, because that's something that I didn't fully understand when I was starting to learn about Kiva, is that there's this entire launch process behind a campaign. So could you speak a little bit to that? If you are approved, you're going to raise money, what has to happen next? It's not like you're just announced to the Kiva marketplace, like something happens first. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have the application process, which is quite simple compared to traditional lending platforms and their application process. So we aim to have a social underwriting to our loans. So we want to use the borrower's strength of character and community ties as the basis for their loan. So we don't ask for things like collateral and tax statements and that kind of thing. And the way that we're able to do that is we have an initial private fundraising stage. So altogether, your Kiva fundraising process takes 45 days maximum, but the first 15 days is what we call private fundraising. So this is when we ask people to bring on people in their personal network, so friends, family, people they know from their business, and they're the people that start off the fundraising. So typically that's between 15 to 20 people that we ask our borrowers to bring on board, and once they have that amount of people lending to their campaign, that's when they're automatically launched into their public fundraising. So that's when they're on the Kiva profile for 30 days.
And then are they just discovered on the platform, or do they have to drive traffic, or how does that work?
So once they are on the platform, they're public for our whole Kiva community, our global community of lenders to see and contribute to their campaign. But during that time, we still really encourage our borrowers to actively engage with their community and their network and continue to promote their campaign. But yeah, they'll start having contributions from people that they don't know around the world, which is really great, and it's very exciting for our borrowers to see that coming through. So, sometimes a campaign can get upwards of 100 people lending to it. So it really is a great community, and it just really diversifies the idea of where we get money. It's not this one-on-one approach. It really is a community-based approach.
Yeah, exactly. If you had to ballpark it, what would you say in terms of the success percentages? We think of Kickstarter, Indiegogo, some of these other crowdfunding websites, and depending on the category, it can be 20%, it could be 30%, maybe 40% on the better end. What is the success percentage for those people that are launching a Kiva campaign and looking to get funding?
Yeah, so we generally say that if you kind of give it a good push in your private fundraising, we usually recommend you to be 20 to 30% funded during your private fundraising is where we kind of see the most success later in your public fundraising. So that's not a requirement, but that's kind of the target percentage funded that we recommend. And if you can get into the public stage of fundraising with that percentage, I think it's over 90, about 93% of loans being fully funded
93
once they're into the public. Yeah,
wow.
Once they're into the public stage of fundraising. So it is a really great system. It's working, and we also have support from a few really great organisations here in New York City that are also helping with funding. So for our borrowers who are operating in New York City and a for-profit business, they're having 10% of their total loan funded by Women Entrepreneurs New York City, which is an organisation supporting female entrepreneurs. With our partnership with them for Kiva, they are supporting all New York City entrepreneurs. So that's 10% of your loan already funded by the city. But yeah, it's up over 90% of people getting fully funded in the US at the moment. So it's really, really exciting.
That's like unheard of when it comes to crowdfunding. Those are really good percentages. And I think it really just speaks also to the values of the platform that people around the world or people that don't necessarily know you are also funding the loan. It really lends into sort of that microfinance background of helping each other and doing it in a way that you're not just giving money like through charity or GoFundMe or something, but you're actually doing it in a way you're going to get funds back and then you can support other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in the example I mentioned with Danny, we really encourage the borrowers to have a connection with their lenders. So through their Kiva profile, they can send out thank you messages and updates on what they're using their loans for. And then oftentimes, once the loan has been repaid, those same lenders are the ones to fund a second loan. So it really is a community and a network that can be used over and over again very successfully.
How long have you now been at the company?
What are we now? It's about 2 months so far.
Okay. So of your time there spent looking at these different projects or talking with your coworkers or other seasoned veterans, are there any other tips that we didn't cover that you want to share with the community? Things you should be aware of, things you should be doing for people that are interested in exploring Kiva as an option?
Yeah, definitely within the fundraising process, we encourage kind of a go hard fast approach. Just in terms of like the algorithm, how our website works, if you kind of have your push in getting the funds and reaching out to your network early on in your campaign, it really keeps you kind of in the most looked at, most popular section for longer, just to accelerate your funding. So that's definitely something we recommend, just to kind of put in the effort at the start to kind of keep that process moving quickly. Another thing we really encourage is to work with a Kiva trustee. So we've got these listed on our website, but a trustee is basically a partnership that we have mainly, I'm sure people would know about the New York Business Solution Centers. We work closely with account managers there, and we have a great trustee program where borrowers can actually, reach out to them for business advice, workshops, that kind of thing. And then those trustees can actually endorse a borrower's loan. So what happens with that is the trustee writes a small blurb which shows up on the borrower's profile. And this is really important just for building lender support. So, when they're looking through profiles to lend to, they see this endorsement, they see that the business owner has reached out for help. It's just really serious about, taking their business forward. And this endorsement also helps borrowers qualify for a higher loan amount. So that's definitely something we encourage. It's not a requirement, but definitely a tip just kind of to boost funding.
Yeah, I think that's a really good tip. Well, my last question for you here is, we started this interview talking about this sort of passion that you discovered for microfinance, going back all the way to Vietnam and seeing the way that it's impacted communities and how it's changed people and enabled people to do things and get products out there. I want to ask you, you just started a job pretty recently, but in terms of your vision for your own growth in the future, what do you want to be doing more of? Like, do you just want to work with more projects? Are you looking to grow in other ways? We'd love it if you could share that. That's my last question.
Definitely. I love what I'm doing so far. I think it's a great way to start out kind of in the world of microfinance, being able to work so closely with the borrowers who are, really at the crux of what Kiva is doing. So that's been really eye-opening and meaningful to me. In the future, I would love to kind of go more into the analysis of impact, meaning just, seeing who Kiva is actually reaching, who's reaching out to Kiva, and kind of working on making sure that we are, being inclusive to all markets, our access is where it needs to be. So, I would love to, down the line kind of have more experience in, analysing that source of impact.
Sounds cool. Where can people go and learn more about Kiva, learn more about the application requirements, all of that?
Yep. So we've got a few great websites to help people along. Firstly, I'd really recommend going to KivaUSHub.org. So this has everything you need to know about who Kiva are, our mission, and then takes you through all the steps of application, review, and fundraising. So that's a really great website to visit. That is KivaUSHub.org. And then if anyone out there is ready to get going and apply for a loan, the link for that is kiva.org/borrow.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing some of that great information. We'll see if we get any questions, if we should do a follow-up, but I really appreciate that. And also just sharing some of those personal stories. Thank you so much for also, I think Kiva is one of those companies where it's almost like you can't believe that kind of opportunity or that kind of system exists. The fact that it is no fee, the fact that you can tap into these borrowers, it's really something that's special. And I totally see the values also at the start of the company. So thank you for coming on and sharing all of that great advice.
No, thank you so much. It was a great opportunity to speak to you. And hopefully lots of people listening are interested and want to get involved either as a borrower or a lender. So I look forward to any questions or further outreach.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Again, my name is Salvador Briggman. Thank you for joining me here today, and also my conversation with Zoe, where we talked about Kiva, we talked about how to get started, and talked about how to launch an effective campaign using Kiva. So I hope you got a lot out of it today. Go and check out some of the other archives of this show. If you're listening on your smartphone, hit that subscribe button so you get notifications when I come out with new podcast episodes. And also, if you're listening on the web, would love if you could check out some of the the other blog posts in my site. I put out content very regularly, also on my YouTube channel. So those are all good places for education and information. But one of the common things over the years that I've gotten is, not only do I talk about crowdfunding and marketing, but I've gotten a lot of questions about blogging. I've gotten a lot of questions about, how to actually run my own business. Why is it that I'm so passionate? People have sort of gotten interested about learning about Sal a little bit. So I'm like, that sounds interesting. Like, how can I also deliver value to you, but also show you a little bit of a glimpse of my personal life? So I decided to set up this entirely other YouTube channel called Life of Freedom. And the goal here is to show you and showcase and document not only how you can create more freedom in your life, but also education and tips as it relates to business, blogging, podcasting. If you're at all interested in having a career similar to mine, I talk a lot about that. And also some of my personal life when it comes to living in Manhattan, different trips that I'm going on a helicopter all over Manhattan. So I document experiences like that. I think it's really interesting. It's also really cool, honestly, just to be able for me to look back on some of these experiences. So one of the other big videos I made was going back to El Salvador. I basically was trying to find my birth mother and was able to find her, and the story is insane. It is crazy. So if you're interested in that kind of content, behind the scenes content, you can go and check out the Life of Freedom YouTube channel, and you can learn more about that. And finally, I have also, there are a lot of different ways that we can effectively launch a Kickstarter or Indiegogo campaign, but I also find that there are people in the community who aren't necessarily interested in launching a physical product. They want to do something more similar to what I'm doing with my blog. They want to become a full-time blogger and an influencer, and they're sort of wondering how to do that. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, but blogging is not the best marriage with crowdfunding. Like, it's hard to raise money to start a blog, or it's hard to raise money to become an influencer or an expert. These different types of careers just don't lend themselves very well to crowdfunding. So I noticed that this was sort of a gap in the education that I'm offering you. So what I decided to do is I decided to set up a very simple 7-day email course, which will walk you through the process of starting a blog. So if you've ever had an inkling of an idea that you wanted to become your own expert, you want to put your voice out into the world, share your message with the world, and also share maybe education, something that you're a master of, I can show you exactly how to do that in the same way that I have. So if you're interested in checking out that 7-day blogging course, you can go to salvadorbriggman.com/blogging. That is salvadorbriggman.com/blogging. Just enter your email address there, and I will start sending you emails, and feel free to reply to any of them. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast, and I'll see you next time.